Il a 21 ans, mais le 6 février 2022, Vadym fêtait ses 18 ans et 15 jours plus tard, l'armée russe envahissait son pays. Aujourd'hui, donc, il en a 21. Vous allez voir, on lui en donne 10 de plus en maturité.
And especially when you are a pilot of a drone, you constantly see people dying. You realize that. So I was completely unprepared for this.
Et ça pour une raison simple, c'est qu'il a vécu 3 ans de guerre, 3 ans en première ligne, comme pilote de drone kamikaze. Et à côté de ça, c'est assez dingue, il réalise des films sur sa vie dans les tranchées. Mais avant, merci. C'est grâce à votre soutien que Quartier Libre peut faire ce type de rencontres hors normes. Si c'est votre premier épisode, bienvenue. Je suis le capitaine Bro, officier de Légion étrangère. Et dans ce podcast, je discute avec des leaders civils et militaires de tout métier, tout grade, toute nationalité. Alors c'est parti pour ce Quartier Libre avec Vadym, soldat de l'Ukraine.
Quartier Libre.
How are you, man?
I'm good. So I just came to Paris. So it's my deuxième fois in Paris. So yeah, first time was basically I went to a vacation. So Ukrainian soldiers basically allowed to go for a vacation abroad. Like if your direct commander, platoon signs your papers, then you're fine to go. Now I kind of keep that in mind, that it won't be a proper vacation, so I won't get any rest in Europe, because it's completely different when you're in a state of active war, and especially when you are a pilot of a drone, you constantly see people dying. You realize that every sort of 15 minutes, someone dies on the front line, protecting us, so we can sit here and do something, or Ukrainian back front, so we can do something there. So for me, I kind of realized that we live on a huge scent clock, how it's called,
Le sablier en français, oui.
But we don't have sort of grains of sand in this clock. We have sort of people lives in this clock, Ukrainian soldiers' lives. And this is kind of idea that forces me to be here, to spend 2 weeks of vacation that I have in Europe, reading lectures, meeting with people, and trying to share my experience as drone pilot, and to share my sort of view on Ukraine right now.
It must be crazy to leave the front, leave your country at wars, and discovering Paris at peace. What is most shocking to you?
Well, the biggest shock I had so first time I went abroad, it was to New York. It was crazy, I was part of some sort of veterans group who went to advocate some stuff in US, etc. So I was wearing uniform and everything. And I just got from the front line, and 1 week forward, I'm sitting in some sort of bar in United States, in New York, in Brooklyn. And
you
there's
feel disconnected.
Yeah, exactly. And there's guys my age, 20 years old guys, sitting there and, having a beer and cheering for their basketball team or whatever they play there, and I'm just sitting and I'm realizing I'm one age with them. I'm the same age, but what sort of different life experience we had last 3 years. It's crazy.
Look, let me ask you a question. You said there is one guy who dies every 20 minutes in Ukraine right now, against Russia.
On average.
Going back on this difference between worlds, I understand you went to New York, you came to Paris. You yourself, you said in a previous interview, the first Russian rocket that hits your country opens a portal. Oh, yeah. What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, if you would ask me a week ago, before the start of the war, I would say no, everything will be fine, blah, blah, blah. Well, I kind of thought that there might be some escalation or something, but only in Donbas area, etc. So I was completely unprepared for this. The lesson I learned first half a year of the war is that there is no either higher ups, either big smart guy, either politicians, either whoever normal civilian people think there are to solve out all their problems. There's no people like this, that we the enthusiastic kind of part of the army, let's put it this way. We have to be more enthusiastic, and we have to take responsibility for new stuff that we will do in this army. And my whole story is about this, about some sort of enthusiasm in the army, and sometimes like breaking procedures that there were from like Soviet times army, or like some standard military procedures to achieve result, to save your people, to do more than you should do according to papers.
Well, this sense of innovation was key in the first resistance, of Ukraine in the beginning of the war.
No, not really, because well, first half a year we wasn't like fighting with drones. You know, we was fighting with. My first position in the army is like staff sergeant of mortar, like mortar crew. So basically, like my first weapon was a weapon of First World War time. So yes, and only while working on this, so I opened like a manual, like Soviet time manual, how to shoot like a mortar, blah blah blah, like a book. And then was like an instruction how to mount it on a horse. And I'm like, okay, I'm doing something wrong in my like newly jellied military career, you know. But yeah, so.
And then you became a drone pilot.
Well, it wasn't like a reason to become. I became drone pilot at some moment. So I like started a fundraiser on Twitter for a drone because I was really interested in drones. Like I was aware that such a thing exists, and I had this concept that, you know, we can correct our own mortar's fire. Well, because you know how the chain of command works.
Oui.
You know, like you have to report to your commander, he to some, blah blah blah, and it goes to commander of the battalion or like tactical point something. I don't know how you call it here, and he corrects artillery. He has the drones, blah blah blah. But my first idea was like, why the hell do we need this guy? If I have,
you want to correct your own.
yes, if I have a drone, we have like mortar. I can find my own targets, or we can get a target from our HQ, and we can correct our own like fire, and it will be like 10 times faster.
Yeah, shorten the loop of feedback, correction.
It's extremely small because I was at the same time correcting like left to right. I was like calculating the like the scope thing, like -5 plus 10, blah blah blah, and we was like adjusting it at the same time, and it was like between a shell lands and we send the next corrected one, it was like a minute or a minute and a half, like the quickest hand on the wild east of Ukraine.
And so you were deployed 8 times on the front line?
Yeah, it was different deployment. So half a year in Bakhmout, it may be like, almost a year, like nine months in Bakhmout. So it's around like 3 deployments.
Just for those who don't know, but Bakhmout is probably the bloodiest battle since the Second World War or something like this. It's like 20,000 casualty for the Russians, I think, in Bakhmout. Just for Wagner, I think.
No,
I mean, I've read this online, but the account is difficult to assess, I guess.
Yeah, of course, it's hard to count, but I think even more. Bakhmout, I really like Bakhmout because I was still, I had a lot of energy, you know, because it was the first year of the war.
What was it like?
You know, well, I spent like almost half a year in infantry, so as a mortarman, so I wasn't like in direct like combats, like direct fire engagements. But I had only one in infantry. Like I just saw like a Russian guy like 100 meters around, and I just like, it's an enemy, it's an enemy. First time seeing an enemy, and I just shot like a half of mag there, and that's it. I don't think I even got something, but you know, just for it to count, like a real soldier in a real war, not with those drones and stuff. So yeah, rest of the time I worked like on
because
remote.
The drones, you don't feel like the real war.
It's a joke. Obviously, it's a real war, but you know what I mean. Like
I mean it's
war as
through
a battlefield, like as a like you go there, like kill everyone with a gun and etc. etc. And real war is like hurry up and wait, like 90% of the time. So yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to know a little more about what you lived through in Bakhmout. Again, for those who don't know that name, it's a city, and it's the name of I think the greatest battle in this war of Ukraine, and probably the deadliest since Second World War in Europe. What was it like? Like what did you do there?
So basically, at first, like I told, I was like a mortarman. Then I started the whole thing with drones, and then last deuxième moitié of the year, I was working as a drone pilot. So I was correcting artillery. I was, you know, the thing about working as a drone pilot that you see everything like that's going on, and you know, it's sometimes it sucks, especially like. during like counteroffensive, so but in Bakhmout, so the reason why I liked this campaign, so Bakhmout was like the sort of the most like how to say it, productive sort of year on the front line. First of all, because I was still working on only on tactical level, and I still do, but now I work also on a defense, and it's much harder for me to. So for me, frontline now is a way to rest. Like I go to frontline to get some rest, like to sit, just to sit with a like. You know, with a like a remote controller, you have like 1 kilometer zone of responsibility. You just sit there. You just fly a drone. You have like really clear tasks. Then you like 90% of the time you just sit in some stupid forest and do nothing, and that's kind of a way to do it. So yeah.
I don't want to over emotionalize this, but I must say, like, I'm very surprised at how casual you talk about all this. Like, how did war change your look at all of this, like at violence, at death, at what you're assigned to do?
Well, it's a lot of stuff. So first, okay, let's.
You know what I mean, like from a position of I think our viewers who are French, who live in a peaceful country and stuff, what you talk about is very deep stuff.
Okay, pity. So first, I think if I wouldn't be like, if I won't like write on the front line, like write stuff like journals, I wouldn't be as good in terms of mental health.
You use writing as a catharsis.
It's a huge thing for me, like using writing as a way to deal with all the shit that you work with. Going to war is like a way to get a lot of great experience. Like, not great, it can be a shit experience, but still, it's experience, and if you like reflect on it, if you like live through it, etc. If you're like a good psychologist at the same time, you'll be fine, and you'll find a lot of stuff for yourself as a creative being.
So for you, writing is a way to put away the pressure, to understand what's going on.
It's more for reflecting stuff, you know. It's like I can compare it to, you know, like a stove. Like, you know, the stove is like the more woods you're throwing in, the quicker it burns, and so creativity is a big thing.
Okay. You talk a lot about your drones, and you don't talk about the drones of the enemy.
Pretty much the same. Like, it's not a huge difference.
No, what I mean is you talk about the mental weight of being in the front line, but
the risk of dying.
You just don't think about it.
No, of course, death is like downside of working like on front line. but
is it in your mind?
Well, I just created a sort of really good like mental mechanism to fight with the fear of death. Like not to fight, but to suppress it enough so you don't care. Like, it's 3 main things like this, and that's help you a lot when you're working on the front line. You know, it's easier for me mentally to fight with the fear of death than to fight with the fear of, not a fear, but the feeling of not doing like enough constantly while in Kiev. Because in Kiev, I'm like, okay, every second of my life I need to dedicate to making like the life of the soldier there easier. And then when I'm this soldier, you know, I'm like, okay, now, you know, everyone else have to think about how to make my life easier, etc. No, of course I'm joking, but you get
No, but I mean, again, I can't relate
and
to...
so the important thing here, I spent around like half a year, maybe more, working in this sort of mixed, like maybe 6 or 7 months for now, working this sort of mixed kind of environment, part of the time on the front line, part of the time in the city, blah, blah. So, like, I spent, if you will just take the time since 24th February till now, like, I spent like 70% on the front line. I'm more adapted to the front line in a way, you know? Like, not adapted in a like social way, etc., but I'm just more happy there. I'm more relaxed. I know what to do. I know the tasks. I'm more happy on the front line. Let's put it this way. In Kiev, I'm more effective because obviously, if I create like, you know, for example, like if I create a course or I assemble a team for a really great like training program or new technological thing that I like can come up with and start providing in the army, you know, Of course, it's a bigger impact. It's definitely a bigger impact that I will be just sitting with a remote controller. But at the same time, am I happy doing this? Well, kind of, but I'm happy on the front line, because yes, it's a less of an impact, but I'm happier there because you know that it's you. Then this is like there's like the whole this like border, like Russia and stuff, and you kind of all the free world that I know, like Europe, US, like Europe and US is basically countries with culture of which I grew up with. Like it was even more than Ukraine because like I speak English since I'm like young, etc. So. I grew up like watching American films and European like YouTube videos, etc., etc. So for me, when you're on the front line, you have this feeling that okay, I'm here like protecting the whole like free world against that like border in front of me. You're on the point that separates the border from like free world, and it's a great feeling.
I can see that there is a whole life for you after this, and I'm really looking forward to see you maybe like getting that education you're talking about and like
but the thing
doing
is,
something completely different.
I don't want a military career.
Interesting. Why not?
I don't know what to do in military during peacetime.
Excellent. Maybe you don't like the authority and.
No, I don't. Like the thing is. It's easier to change the military when you're not in military. Because when you're in military, you're part of this hierarchy chain and you can't if you have a brilliant idea, you can't go directly to a general. But if you're a civilian defense guy, you can. You know what I mean? So, So, I don't think, yes.
I will claim my right to silence.
Quartier Libre.